This is iFanboy Pick of the Week, number 837, brought to you by iFanboy listeners just like you. I don't have a joke.
That's fine. You don't have to have a joke every time.
I do. That's a mental problem I have. Hello, welcome to iFanboy Pick of the Week, episode 837. I'm Josh Flanagan. I'm here with my co-host, Connor Kilpatrick.
Both Josh and I are on like 3 hours of sleep. The world's falling apart. Let's go. Let's do this.
We are iFanboy, and none of this matters. And every week, one of us picks a book that they like the best from their stack of comics, which doesn't matter, and we call that the Pick of the Week, which you guessed is utterly pointless. We talk about that book. We avoid the chasm of desolation. We will talk about other books from life. Whoa. I was trying to think of the line from Hitchhiker's Guide, but I can't remember it now, that Marvin says. We'll talk about the Patron Pick of the Week. It is that. We just don't call it that.
Right.
Because it's every week. We answer listener mail if we have time. There are spoilers about the books. If you haven't read them, then don't listen to this, or do listen to this and don't worry about that, because it doesn't matter. It's all meaningless. Connor, given that in mind, that makes it easier to make a pick because of its meaninglessness, correct?
I had a really good time reading comics this week. I had like a moderately sized stack of books, and I had, 4 or 5 really good ones. And actually the first 4 books we're going to talk about here, they were all in mental contention for Pick of the Week. So I had a good week, and it was nice.
I think I actually enjoyed the books. I didn't have a lot of books, but the ones that I read, I think I did enjoy.
Yeah, it was good. But ultimately, Josh, I'm a man who yearns. I yearn. It's,
okay.
Well known about me. I'm a yearner.
You're a yearner. Which is not to be confused with a uriner.
Well, occasionally.
Different thing. Well, right, but not like that's not your thing.
Sure.
Like you urinate at a normal level. Platform. I wouldn't call you an enthusiast. He's not a uriner.
So, the Pick of the Week was Batman 125, and the last time Batman was Pick of the Week was also the start of a new creative team run, because I yearn for a good Batman run. So that last pick, that run went off the cliff immediately, and I don't think we even talked about it for the rest of the time on the show. But here we have the new creative team of Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez on an exercise issue, because I guess there'll be a backup story so they can charge you extra. Also written by Chip Zdarsky. We'll get to that in a minute.
At least.
There are things about this that I didn't necessarily love, but I understand why they're happening. But for the most part, much like the last Batman Pick of the Week, this felt like a fun, nice, classic resetting of the table of the Batman world. And as we've been talking about for the last couple of years, Chip Zdarsky has become one of our favorite writers. He is extremely versatile. This doesn't read like a Chip Zdarsky.
I couldn't even tell you what that means.
Anymore, you can't.
Right.
In the past, I think you could, but now, after years of Daredevil and other books, he's unrecognizable, which is a good thing, I think.
Yeah. And
so here we have Bruce Wayne Batman is back at it, but he's in a bit of a darker place. That's the part I don't necessarily love. I don't love the super dark and robotic Batman. We know that Chip can write other kinds of Batman, as he's done in the Batman Urban Legends book, but here he's just not happy. He still has lost his fortune, which is still the dumbest thing that's happening in comics, and so he's basically forgone Bruce, and he's Batman 24/7. And so Tim has shown up and says, "Hey, man, I'm a little concerned. This is not mentally good for you." And so then we resume the Batman and Robin, Bruce and Tim partnership, at least for this moment. I think they're out to stop the Penguin, who is going to kill everyone in Gotham who has inherited $5 million or more, unless they give that money over to the poor of the city, which is funny because Penguin falls in that category. He was born super rich. Then there's a fight in a gala, and it's just very classic. Clayface shows up, and then 2 things happen that surprised me. One, and we gave you the spoiler warning, in the midst of the gala in which Batman is fighting in a half Batman suit, half tuxedo, which I thought was awesome and funny in a Chip Zdarsky way. Tim Drake gets shot in the throat by a goon. And so then Batman has to race to get him to the hospital. And there's a nice little flashback parallel to Jason Todd's death while Batman is panicking in a Batmobile. And then he goes to visit Penguin, who commits suicide in the hospital room while framing Batman. So now everybody thinks that Batman murdered the Penguin as a retaliation. And so I thought this was really strong. The Jorge Jimenez art I've been a big fan of for a while. I think he does really dynamic, really fun. This is they still sometimes use this Penguin design where it's from the Tim Burton movies, which I don't love, but I loved his character work. The panel of Tim being shot was terrific in the silhouette, the red silhouette. He does great dynamic canted angles. I think he's a terrific artist and works really well for Batman. And I just really like this. I really like this issue. I also like the backup with Selena, that Chip wrote with Belen Ortega on art. Now that the Penguin is quote-unquote dead, his iceberg lounge is up for grabs, and so all these criminals want to take it over. But there's a robot lawyer who has the Penguin's will and won't allow a criminal takeover. He will only allow legal takeover. I thought that was kind of silly Chip. So it was a nice contrast to the two kinds of Chips, which I liked.
But it was a very sort of dark, serious, arch kind of Batman, though.
Yeah.
I actually didn't read this issue because of various reasons, mostly being that I just thought it was another issue of Batman. By the time I found out, it was kind of too late. But I read the little preview thing in the back of Batman Killing Time. And I was really surprised that it was so... dark isn't the word I'm looking for, but serious, I guess. Not because it's just Chip Zdarsky, because Daredevil's very serious, but I just thought, that's an interesting choice because I wouldn't think they would go there now. Because that's common in other stuff right now. Mm-hmm. In Killing Time, for example, Batman's super serious, and in everything else I've read, basically, he's not a fun Batman at the moment.
They're either mimicking the movie tone, or they're starting him in point A to get him to point Z.
Right.
They have to resolve this fucking money situation. It's not fun. Much like Superman's identity being revealed, it brings zero to the table story-wise.
It's funny because it works. It works in some instances, or at least for a little while. I mean, obviously, Spider-Man's thing is he's broke. He's got to have a job. He's whatever. That kind of always works. They took away Oliver Queen's fortune at one point, and I was like, that kind of works for him.
But the thing is, it doesn't affect Batman in any way other than he just complains. He still has his cars, he has his gadgets, he has his layers. It's well, then what's the point if you're going to strip him of his fortune? Then strip him of his fortune. He shouldn't be able to upkeep all this stuff. He shouldn't still have all this stuff. So really strip him down to just the basics and have him be running around in a year one suit with the cloth, belt and a couple of batarangs, but he's got to be judicious using them because he only has, one more crate. Really dive into that, but they don't. It doesn't change the story one iota. So it's well, then what is the point of it? If you're not
Can you go back and tell me, why doesn't he have his money?
The point of it, again, it's the root of all the DC problems now is because originally in that Dan DiDio, jump to the future, they were going to have the new Batman, Lucas Fox's son. So they contrived, the Joker stole his fortune, Catwoman stole it back, and Lucas came to Bruce and said, hey, the government's watching you for various reasons, so you can't take the money back because then they'll know you're Batman, so I'm going to hold on to the money for you. And then he just kept it. And so...
Lucius Fox kept the money.
Yeah, so Lucius Fox has Batman's fortune,
sense.
right? Right. It's if you got robbed and I robbed the guy back and I just said, Josh, I'm just going to hold on to your money for you, and then I never gave it back. It's stupid. So, and again, if they told new, interesting Batman stories through it, then that'd be one thing, but they don't. They just keep mentioning it, but it doesn't affect him in any way. It's stupid.
And then you would think that Batman, very, very rich person, savvy, wouldn't necessarily keep all of his funds under the name of Bruce Wayne.
In one bank account.
Because for one, that creates a problem.
Yeah.
Hey, where's all this money going? People have to account for that to a certain extent. He'd have other accounts, and
he has the Batman account,
money upon money. Yeah,
and he has the account called Not Money for Batman. It's just stupid, and it's been going on for a long time. future state didn't happen, but they keep these remnants that are kneecapping. Anyway, the point is this: that little aspect is dumb. I liked this story a lot. I'm hopeful and excited that this actually takes off into a fun place. Chip is a great writer. We've seen him write great Batman stories, so I'm looking forward to this and seeing where this goes.
He's good at putting the characters into difficult corners.
Yes.
And watching what they do, which is, if you can have that illusion of progress with Batman, then you're doing something right. So hopefully that's where he gets to.
And I don't believe the Penguin's, permanently dead. So there's all that. So
what about Tim Drake?
Well, he's not dead. He just got shot in the throat.
Right.
It nicked an artery, but he got him to the hospital. We just didn't see the outcome of him getting him to the hospital.
That takes him off the board, though.
I did like the cover a lot, where it's a shot of Batman, like a medium shot, waist up, but Tim is tiny in the foreground, and he's jumping, and he is Batman's logo on his chest. I like that a lot. I'm excited.
Is he Robin now? Who is he?
He is Robin.
Red Robin?
He's Robin.
Okay.
In other books, they're like, you got to get your own identity, but here he's Robin, and Bruce is like, Tim's a great Robin. He's a good soldier. He's been able to figure out how to have a life and be the soldier. That was sort of the monologue he had when Tim showed up. Like, he really likes and he respects Tim. It's interesting to see that this is the Batman Tim story, which is very much like the millennial ideal of Batman. So it's interesting. I'm hoping he sticks around. I'm hoping he's just a flesh wound. Let's talk about Batman Killing Time, issue 5 of 6. This was almost the pick because of the ending, which I feel like an idiot didn't see coming until the page before the reveal. I was like, oh shit, are we doing? And then we turned the page and I was like, we are. And it was such a Tom King thing, such a very, very Tom King thing to reveal the mastermind behind this whole thing is one of Batman's silly villains.
That does make perfect sense. I hadn't put it together exactly like that. And I will be honest, I saw that character and I was like, who's this again? It's a Clock King?
Well, Tom is always talking and joking about the lower tier guys, right? He did the whole Condiment Man thing, and he had that whole arc about in the Batman series. What was it? It was
Kite Man.
Kite Man. So to have Clock King be the mastermind here makes sense. And also, the whole conceit of this book has been the narration has been very specifically time to time in a way that has split the audience. I like it. Some people hate it, but now it makes sense. Before it felt like just like a Washburn affectation, but now it's a guy who, knows time to the nth degree. So of course all this stuff is timed exactly to the minute. And I really liked also the parallel structure of the stuff in the past. Like for the first time, the stuff that happening in ancient Rome makes sense.
Right. I thought
so it all sort of came together in this issue, which I really liked a lot.
I think it's interesting that the tone of the book is so heavy, and there's no jokes. There's not, it's really straightforward arch comic booking, and then the final reveal is a ridiculous villain.
Right.
Oh, you've deflated all of this stuff, and not in a bad way. And he's going to play it straight. This isn't. He'll be a threat. There's a reason these people are super villains to a certain extent, but it really was a plotting tour de force. And I went back a few times because I was like, wait a minute, is this happening before or concurrently, or but it worked. It worked really well. I like this series sort of despite myself. Like, if this wasn't so well constructed, I wouldn't be all that interested, but I am. And I've definitely stuck with it. Should we address the elephant?
Yeah, so this is the second time that Tom King has killed us off in a comic book. He killed us off in the War of Jokes and Riddles. We were all killed by the Joker. We were amongst the many heads and names that were shown as being victims of the Joker's massacre.
So on page 4, it says Jay Wood fires a flamethrower indiscriminately, and I was like, huh. And then I was
he killed David Price there.
Right, I know, and I was like, I'm going to show up in a second here. And I did, and he spelt my name and your name incorrectly on purpose, I'm pretty sure. And also, we got an ignominious death.
Yeah, so the beginning of this issue, and we don't know why this is happening, but a whole bunch of Gotham supervillains, hired goons, are killing each other in Moldoff Park, right? There's a giant riot or battle happening in the park, and you see Joker goons and Penguin goons and Mr. Zaz goons. So I didn't even think Mr. Zaz had goons. You and I and Ron, whose names are spelled correctly,
which is interesting,
were Mr. Freeze goons. And by the way, all of this tracks.
Uh-huh.
We try to use our freeze guns, and they blow up, freezing
Homemade
us to
freeze
death.
guns.
We would totally try to use the freeze guns and die using them. And so we freeze ourselves to death, and then our bodies melt into the grass, and it never recovered.
I say, you know what? We got the best death.
Yeah.
Out of all these, ours is silly. And I like the silly.
And you see us in Frozen Demise in the panel.
Flailing, and our bodies are not recovered.
And then later on, when we go backwards to the meeting of the goons, you see a dude wearing, on page 10, Josh, you see a dude in the bottom left corner wearing sort of a Mr. Freeze getup. And he's got kind of a blonde mustache, so I'm assuming that's you.
Okay, let's go.
Who's going to die, later on. But it was a good death.
Enough.
It was a fun death.
I'll take. Yeah, I mean, like, we thought we could make a freeze gun. We weren't good at it. We didn't test it. We all went down and disappeared.
The way we're positioned, were we shooting at each other? Because we're all facing each other like a Mexican standoff.
That would make sense. Well, I think we're being blown backwards, actually. Like one of us he's going, no, you got to hit that button. You got to charge it with the nitrogen.
Yeah. So one of us is hitting it, like shaking it and hitting the gun. Like, why is this working?
It's a good moment. Oh, are we self-aggrandizing yet? Is that...
Well, listen, it's not often we get killed in such an awesome way in a comic. Last time it was sort of some horrible Joker death. This is funnier.
Yeah, it's true.
But I will say this is becoming a pattern.
Well, I mean, we do this for something. If it's so we can have this moment that we do this every week for our entire lives, then let's enjoy it. Let's not play cool.
So another book that I really loved and I thought about making the pick was That Texas Blood 15, which is a book we talk about a lot. It's honestly one of my favorite comics.
There's nothing like it.
Exactly. And we used to do our top 5 books when we do the barbecue shows in the summertime, which we don't do anymore. But I don't know that this wouldn't be in the contention to put in that top 5 list right now, especially right now. This particular arc has been really well done. This is the creepy serial killer arc that's set in the past. Our main sheriff character is a young man having just become sheriff. I don't remember what year this was, but it doesn't really matter.
But it's been like the first arc was sort of now, and then we went way back, and then this is a little after that, so 90s maybe here.
He's got bitchin' hair and a mustache, so it could be.
Yeah, totally.
And the first issue of this story was fucking creepy as hell, as the sort of Scream-esque opening with the serial killer with the creepy mask killed the young woman in her house, and here is sort of the aftermath of the sheriff and his deputies are freaking out, and then the serial killer had called the sheriff's office. Like it's their dawning realization that they've got a serious problem on their hands as this famous serial killer in Texas who's been killing all over the state has shown up in their county. And I thought this was terrific.
You're absolutely right. And there was a little bit, I think, before it figured itself out. I want to say somewhere in the second arc where
yes.
I was like, is this going to be all right? And since then, like, it just, like, they got it. And I we can talk about the story or whatever, but I mean, Jacob Phillips, a guy just emerged fully formed, from under his dad's tutelage or example. But there's a bit, let's see, it's when they're in the office sort of going over it, it would be page 6, and the camera is up top. And over the page, it zooms in further, a little Watchmen effect, basically.
Yep.
All the way in, and it's just beautiful shots and storytelling. And actually, the page before that, we see the bag, the evidence bag, and then we flip it over and we see them from the other side looking down over it. It's really, I mean, it's storyboard like, in a way, like that makes it cinematic, and that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing for comics, but it works in this instance because it really, I mean, I would struggle to think of another comic book that is doing sort of this crime, like real life crime,
yep.
that feels like when you watch an episode of True Detective.
Right.
Like it feels like that. And I'm just using that show as an example, or a Coen Brothers like a real straightforward sort of Fargo kind of thing. It feels like that. And that's not usual. It just has a pace.
His dad and Brubaker are doing this terrific series of OGNs that are crime books, but they're urban crime. Most comic creators live in urban areas, and most of them do, when they do those kind of books, they do urban crime. But this is totally rural. It's a different flavor. This isn't like a bunch of hardened detectives in the city. This is like a bunch of county sheriffs who usually get a couple of weeks of training to be an officer, and that's it. Now they're dealing with a serial killer. It's interesting. There's
a couple of devices that make it work in that, so if this was Columbo,
right?
Every week a different thing would happen, and eventually be like, boy, this guy's busy. But in this, what they're doing is they've got the sheriff as the linchpin of the whole thing, and you're basically coming to him at different parts in his career in each arc.
Yeah.
There's old man one, there's young man one, there's sort of middle, guy. And it works because it actually feels realistic. Like, okay, over a 30 or 40-year career as police, these are the things that would happen. Right. It isn't just like, oh no, the phone's ringing again. It's kind of, it's elegant in a way, how it's sort of paced and structured.
It's the highlights, which I say, not ironically, but it's, most of the time he says it. He's like dealing with like somebody parked in front of the place he's not supposed to park, or some other small town issue. And these are the cases that were different.
The acting in this is spectacular.
Yeah,
I mean, you just watch. You could not quite, but you can tell what's going on in the scene without the word balloons. You can tell what flavor the interactions are. And then if I have one more. There's a blizzard going on at the time this is happening, which is sort of the other element of impending doom. And at one point they are inside and he has to go somewhere, and you cut to them driving the police jeep along the sort of Texas plains, and it's snowing, and I was like, boy, that really looks good. Like it looks cold and snowy, like it's a blizzard. And, it's just so well done for guys who are not, haven't been in the game that long. And I like that.
On page 24, the sheriff just has terrible mic awareness when he's on the radio show. I mean, I don't blame him. He's a sheriff.
Well, that's the thing. Like
he's got his hand around the microphone.
Oh God! Like, think of all the poor listeners.
Yeah, buddy. Oh, buddy.
To be fair, the DJ guy swings the mic over to him.
Right. I mean, like he's talking to the wrong side of it, which is fine. But then in the second to last panel, he's got his hand wrapped around
that's
mic, and that is just that's unforgivable. This is great. This has been really great. I know at first we weren't quite sure, and I think they were still figuring it out. And Chris Condon, who is a writer from New Jersey, I don't think had quite gotten the dialect, or at least made it feel authentic. But I think they've all figured it out at this point, and it's very good.
But I remember because we were like, it's almost there, and it's impressive because of that. Yes. If he can work it out, and then they work it out, and you're like, whoa, you did it! Like that's
every time I see it on the list, I'm like, yes,
yeah.
Last issue of The Amazing Spider-Man 898 was Pick of the Week, and I was like, this could be it again. This is a great arc. And kind of like Batman, they've been using this introductory arc of the new creative team of Zeb Wells and John Romita Jr., and we have two legacy artists in a row here. Sort of reset the Spider-Man table. And this is the last issue of that arc before we get to the big issue 900, which is also Spider-Man 6, which is such a great thing. Why have, your first issue 900 Marvel Comics be issue 6? That's awesome. Anyway, I thought this was really great. There's a couple things that are great here. One is, the fallout of him getting just beaten to hell by Tombstone is his face is just bloody and swollen the whole issue.
It is, and it definitely is conveyed by the art. In the sort of sense that like, oh, I understand this. Anatomically, maybe a bit weird. Like this, he just looks like the Toxic Avenger. Half of it.
I enjoyed him and Black Cat's little flirty banter. Mm-hmm. I was like, yes, this is why he can't be married for me. Like he needs to be able to have this kind of interactions. And we've always liked their relationship where she can come to him and as the ex-girlfriend and say, hey, you're being an asshole. Why are you being an asshole? You're not an asshole. Mm-hmm. He can be chagrined because he can put up tough facade to almost everybody else. But there's like 3 or 4 characters she can't. She's one of them. So finally she says, listen, when you find your smile again, give me a call. I'll let you chase me around a bit. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. And then I love this debt collector, even though he wouldn't be at Peter's house every single day. But I do find it funny that he's sitting on his stoop. And his opinion is that Peter never comes or goes. He's hiding out in the house, even though Peter is constantly coming and going via the roof. I thought that was funny.
There has to be something else about that guy.
Right.
Because eventually the cost of his salary is going to outstrip the cost of what he owes.
Yeah. The superhero stuff was good. Him and Tombstone and him fucking up Tombstone's plan. Like, all that was good, and I liked all of this.
And I like there's a pride aspect to the story that's kind of cool. Like, he was fooled, he was duped, and then he has to come to terms with it and figure it out. And I think that it's handled, with aplomb. It's one of those things. Like, it's one thing to have, cool moments and plots and fights and things like that. In emotional moments, you can kind of do that, but you have to plan how he's going to respond to Tombstone and how it is. And I liked it. I liked that he got a little of his swagger back. There's one thing that we need to discuss in the ongoing series. Let's start right on at page 1, and is confirmed on panel 3 of page 2. What the fuck is wrong with that ice cream cone?
Hold on. Wait a minute.
It's not. That's.
Yeah,
That's like webbing.
It does not look like sugar. And does not look like.
There are no ice cream cones that look like that. It looks like a croissant.
It does.
It's not.
Maybe that's the hip thing in Brooklyn now, Josh. Both of us haven't been gone for a while. Maybe it's all tipsters putting ice cream in croissants.
Croissant cones? Could be.
Croissant.
Could be. There were multiple food moments, while not necessarily pizza this week, and if I can remember what they are.
There was a pizza where we were on the edge. There was a pizza moment. I don't remember what book it was, where we were on the edge of them holding it wrong. You're right. It doesn't look like a waffle cone or a sugar cone. It just looks like a croissant.
Oh, I know what the other one was. We don't have it on the list, but in Strange Academy, the last page is a copy of the receipt from all the pizza that they got.
Oh yeah, that was the pizza one. Yeah,
and the prices are way off. I don't know where you're getting a large pizza for $8.
Yeah, I mean, there's a pizza place near me that does a Tuesday, Thursday large pizza deal, and it's $10.
I mean, I guess if you order
8's crazy.
60 pizza,
I guess you get a discount.
I guess it's possible.
Yeah.
Listen, it was a great gag, and it's a nice bit of design for the thing. But I was like, these prices don't seem right.
These prices are insane.
These are 92 prices. Speaking of prices,
we do a Strange Academy list. It's in the next segment. We just jumped the gun on that.
Okay, that's fine. I didn't read that far.
That's okay. It's a surprise. It's like a reveal for you.
If you like this kind of show organization and this sort of tight adherence to a broadcast standard that we here at iFanboy uphold and treasure and cherish.
And excellence, really. Excellence.
Excellence. That's what we're about.
Yeah.
Both not only in how we approach our task, but also in how specifically comic book artists approach drawing and representing food. That's become our thing. Write down a T-shirt about that. Something about a T-shirt on that. And
the thing is, like, it's usually because we're hungry. Like, I'm doing this before I've had any food. Josh is at around lunchtime. There's a reason. There's always a reason.
Sure.
There's a reason for it. And also, I just like to say, no matter what is going on in our lives, this is, it's the adherence to podcasting excellence that I appreciate no matter how much is happening around us.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is that patreon.com/iFanboy is a place where you can say directly with your coins, I want you to do more of this thing, and I have the ability to and the desire to help support that. And it's not just us that we're doing it for. It helps everybody because there's goals, and those goals lead to programs, to content, to other things for you to put in your ear holes. Mm-hmm. That said, we're gonna change the goals around a little bit. Yeah, I know we've been mentioning it, but we actually have put a meeting on the books. To do so, we have slipped once again below the level of the media explode, but we want to keep doing those. So we're gonna move things around a bit, and we'll give you the update when that happens. It may not happen right away because I'm about to go on vacation, but we are going to change. Way to present hardship, Connor. Sorry. I'm not saying I'm going to Ibiza. I'm saying I'm going on vacation. No, you're going to take time off. For the first time in a long time, and you deserve that. It's been 2 years. So, in all realisticness, the folks who are willing and able, because I know that not everyone is able, and it is some weird times, and electricity bills are doubling and all the stuff.
Yeah.
If you're able to do it and support the show, we appreciate you immensely. And we appreciate everybody who listens, even if you don't do that. But the folks who do support it and have supported it like for a long time,
Yes.
That is humbling. And you honor us in that, like, oh, wow, we really are able to do a thing that you were very committed to being a part of and to listening to. And that must mean we're doing something good that affects somebody, and that makes us feel good. So thank you to everybody who does that, who's able to keep doing that. If you can't, for whatever reasons, we get that too. So we will do our shows, but we will do more shows if more people can donate in that way. But that's where we are. So thank you to everybody. You can also go to ifanboy.threadless.com, where you can purchase shirts and clothing and items and sundries and such with some of our humorous designs, things that only people who listen to the show would understand. And what you're doing is you're taking your life in your own hands as you venture out, and somebody goes, what does that mean?
Right.
Clint is dead? And that's maybe the kind of way you want to be. That's the way I want to be.
There was one time where I was putting the shirt on and I went, you know what? I don't want to have the conversation. I took it off and I put a different shirt on.
That's fine.
It was just that day.
Sense.
I wasn't in the mood that day. Other days I don't care.
I like it. It means it's just for you. It's
Sure.
just it's like you're wearing a band shirt and nobody in the world knows what that band is. We're like that band, but older and fatter.
Super underground.
We are. We are totally an independent label.
We're so far underground we can't see the sun. We're like Mole Man.
If someone could just dig a small tunnel, see the sun, that would be good. You can avoid all that and go to ifanboy.com/support, where there's a PayPal link. If you wanted to leave a virtual tip or do something there, then that's possible. And then you can go to ifanboy.com/Amazon to use that link to sort of purchase whatever stuff it is on Amazon, and we get a part of that. Or links to buy the books that we do on Booksplodes, or the music in every show, or the issues are always linked there. The Pick of the Week issue on ifanboy.com. And then finally, there's bookshop.org, which helps local bookstores. It is sort of an alternative to Amazon, where if you want to purchase whatever books, probably not the single issues. I'm guessing not, but
No.
But that's real good.
Yeah.
Because local bookstores are the business, and they need your help. And so that is one more way to help them and do the right thing and still get the books.
Do the right thing.
Radio Raheem!
I don't remember what we said about the closet when it was the patron pick, whether we were going to stick with it or not. So this week, with the closet number 2 came out, I was like, am I supposed to read this? I don't remember if I said I would, but then I said, I'll just give it a shot. This is James Tynion IV and Gavin Fullerton on art. And this was good. I don't know how much longer I'm going to stick with it, because I want to strangle this motherfucker, the main character.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a really well done issue, and I thought the conversation with him and his buddy was good, and it's just that the main character is the worst, and it's hard to be around him.
You're right, but I think that there is a realness
Totally.
to it that, I don't think James Tynion has kids or like a family like that. I could be wrong. I haven't talked to him in years and years and years and years, but there's some real emotions and reactions here that, let's say, in a weaker person would really take over, and you want to do the right thing, and you're just not doing it. And it's easy to understand him, but it's very hard to forgive him.
Or just be around him.
Yeah, no, and I think that the actual depiction of the friend who's like, what the fuck happened to you? And he's not letting him off the hook was really refreshing. It's like,
I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, I did
Despite his ponytail.
Yeah. That said, the closet part,
Yeah.
the monster under the bed, the alien, whatever, I don't care.
I don't care, although I will say, so while, it's the son and the dad from the first issue. The dad's a fuck up. The son has got a monster in the closet problem. They're driving across country to Portland. They're all going to Portland. Mm-hmm. Does this take place 10 years ago? Because I don't know that you can afford Portland anymore. They go to Portland, so they stop at the dad's buddy's house, and the kid's still afraid of the monster in the closet. So he's like, "Don't worry about it. We're in this guy's house. The closet's back east. The monster's gone, but the monster's not gone." I thought there was a really visceral scene here where the monster appears. And the kid, throws this toy at it and runs to his dad, but the dad's outside at the fire pit with his buddy. Mm-hmm. And so the kid much like Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters at the window of Tavern on the Green is there banging on the sliding door for help, but no words come out. And we've all had that dream, where you can't talk.
It is a really well drawn sequence. I will
Yes.
give you that. Like when I say I don't care about it, I mean like I feel like there's a great human drama here.
Yeah.
Period. And maybe it's a metaphor or whatever, but I don't think it's necessary. But you're right that sequence is spectacular and scary.
Somebody let me in. Maybe I got a milk bone. Anyway, the dad's awful.
Yes.
In a really well done way. Like the guy's calling him out for all his foibles, and I guess he cheated on his wife. And he's like, yeah, I know, I feel terrible, and we've gone through therapy, and we're in a better place, and yada, yada, yada. On the other hand, it was great to have the girl want me, and the guy was like, okay, this conversation's over. Like, he's got no time for this bullshit anymore.
This dude has the setup. Lives in the middle of nowhere. He doesn't have any kids, but he's got a bunch of Legos. Just gets loaded and builds Legos and listens to Pink Floyd or whatever. I like this dude. I want to hang out with this dude.
So, this bought me, I think, another issue. This is going to be a case-by-case comic.
Sure.
Each one's going to have to be good like this. The more we delve into the monster, the less I'm going to care about it. But hey, look, Strange Academy. That's where we're at now with the
I only
pizza.
had one note about it. I already went past it.
This is the final issue, although not the last issue, because in the Mighty Marvel manner, it's going to be rebooted at the number 1 after the summertime. So I'm fine with that. Whatever.
Yeah, business.
I like the book. I'm happy it's not going away. I liked the twist that Emily is the villain, the sweet, Midwestern girl who was originally our eyes and ears into this crazy world of magic in Marvel. It's not any of the obvious villains. It's her. She has been corrupted by the dark magic, and she is the problem. I liked that twist. It was a good twist. Mm-hmm. There was some good bits in here. The joke about the kid pretending to be Doctor Strange with the fake mustache to get the pizzas was funny. In an over-the-top way.
Having told the story of when we ordered too many pizzas on the show, which we're not going to do again.
Yeah.
I think they definitely ordered too many pizzas.
Well, there are kids. Those metabolism's off the charts.
I know, but that's a lot. There's like 60 pizzas. Also, they don't fit in that smart car. And B, that's New York City pizza. This takes place now. No one's selling them an $8 pizza.
Yeah, I'm looking at the receipt, and the Meat Lovers pizza is $10.
Well, the base price is $8. We know.
Yeah,
that.
the large cheese is $8. They're charging $2 for all the meats. No way. Number 3, no self-respecting New York place is selling a Hawaiian pizza. What else we got here?
Well, tangentially, outside of the Sanctum Sanctorum, the pizza guy pulls up. He's in a full uniform. He's in a little smart car that is bedecked out with graphics and a big pizza slice on top. I've never seen that in my life in New York City. That is a thing that happens somewhere else, but that does not happen in the city. That car would get destroyed. That car would not make it a day. People would pick that car up and throw it in the river. Literally.
Also, why did they order 10 large anchovies pizzas? I did enjoy the joke about the barbecue chicken pizza where it says, please add screams of the tormented. And the note was, we had the delivery driver scream at the pizza. It was cathartic. Thank you. It
was good. It's a good gag. It's a good book.
This is a funny book. It's great, and it's got good action, and Humberto Ramos is terrific.
Good long-form plotting. It's a delight and a joy. It's a thing that Scotty Young can be really proud of in terms of creating. And, that consistency on art is the whole deal right there, I think. Yeah.
As I was reading, I thought, this doesn't feel like a final issue.
No.
And then it got to the end and said, we're coming back after the summer with a new number 1. So, of course you are. Of course you are. Speaking of endings, this was the last hurrah for Conan the Barbarian at Marvel. King Conan number 6 as the license switches to another company. When I already forgot which one it is. Marvel no longer has a license. I think they're still negotiating to keep him in Savage Avengers, but this is the last of the solo books. It's been a long time, long run.
I gotta say, if Mahmoud Asrar isn't drawing Conan, I don't know if I care about Conan. That's what I think. And talking to him on my Talk Explode recently only solidified that.
Yeah.
And also, it's Jason Aaron. It's very low key Jason Aaron. Like, it doesn't scream Jason Aaron, but I mean, like, this is his jam. He's made to write stuff like this.
Oh, for sure.
And I think it shows. This was a great little mini-series. I would have gone another 6 on this easy.
I'm really glad they didn't kill him.
To let this go. Right. Yeah.
They wanted us to think he was dead because they find the sword and you're like, oh no, he's dead. But And I thought, it's possible. We've been killing our immortal icons lately. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen various things, but I thought it was possible, but I'm glad they didn't, because Conan, to me, is a character that should be, as it happens in the book, he should be living forever on an eternal quest for more adventure. And
I like how that was phrased. It was like the kid that he looks back, himself as a boy in the tree, when will it be enough? And he's like, the boy said it's not, or whatever it was, but
right.
He will, and the kid throws his sword out there, and I mean, and Jason Aaron is the comic book industry leader on putting sharks into comics, and I'm all for it. There should be as many sharks as possible: space sharks,
king shark,
real sharks, all that, all those kind of. Put those sharks in, and then let's end with the fact that he got off the island by building a boat out of the fingernails of the dead
and a paddle out of bones.
Fuck yeah.
And then I assume he's paddling to America, to the New World. This was a good run. He's been the rights have been in Marvel for a long time. They had a lot of great series. There were great series at other companies, but this is a good run at Marvel.
I mean, the main book wasn't tainted at any point by having Marvel people in it, and I'm so glad about that.
Yeah,
like put Conan on other stuff if you want to, but keep this Conan book, Conan, which is what they did. And when I had Asrar in the show, he said like his guy was John Buscema, and John Buscema, he was like the Conan guy in the 70s, and knowing that and seeing sort of how this art was done and what it looks like, it's just perfect. It's like that legacy is complete. And you remember like reading the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way.
For sure. I've got it here in my office.
If you look at page 5, and it has Conan 2 sitting on that throne. And one of the things I remember about that book is that they were like, your figures have to look like they have weight and heft. And you see him sitting on that chair, and his weight's borne off to the right side, and it's like he's there.
It's also a canted angle, which they talk about in the book also.
Yep. And like there was a shot of, I'll never forget it. Like there's a shot of Dr. Doom. He's got his arms up in the air, and it's a good drawing. And then the next page is when they sort of add weight to it, and I still don't fully understand what the differences or how they do it, but he just has more of a presence there. And like I look at this page and the stuff in here, I was like, oh, that's that thing. That's the thing they're doing. And then,
it's also the angle. It's a straight-on angle of him being angry, but then the next page, it's a canted angle of more weight to it. His body's... You can just tell the difference between the two.
Look at the fight scenes. I mean, you could take every word out of this. I mean, it's brilliant. It's so good.
It's a good book. Really good book.
I loved it.
Yeah. A good week of comics. It really was.
Yeah, you're right.
I really had fun reading comics as an escape from everything else. Those are the books we're going to talk about. At patreon.com/iFanboy, the patrons get a say. They get to add a book to the rundown for whatever Machiavellian reasons they have to pick a book. And this week, the pick was Starhenge, Book 1, The Dragon and the Boar, number 1, from Image Comics by Liam Sharp, with additional art by Matilda McCormick Sharp. And Liam Sharp has been around for a long time, but I think he's someone that landed on most people's doorsteps with the Green Lantern book, at least in a big way, because the first half of the book was very popular, sold really well. He did a lot of other things since then. He did a Batman Wonder Woman story. He did a couple issues of Batman Catwoman. So here we have him doing a sci-fi book at Image. And I think Liam Sharp is incredibly talented as an artist. He can do a lot of different styles, a lot of different ways. His stuff is beautiful. This was a slog. This was rough.
So I saw the title, and I went, all right, well, it's number 1, so I'm going to look at it. Mm-hmm. And then I saw the entire title and the cover, and I went, oh boy. And then I saw Liam Sharp, who I believe is also an extremely talented artist. And to be fair, not a bad writer. I think, like, in here, I was like, okay, there's definitely skill here. But there is apparently, as I understand it, like, he just draws whatever he wants, however he wants, when he does a book. Mm-hmm. And so this is the thing where he can sort of let it go. And I got to this first page, and I was like, oh, no. Prologue, woe unto the red dragon, for his end draws near. And I was like, oh, I don't have this in me. And then there's a bunch of pages of astral whatnot, and then barbarians, and there's no words for quite a while. And we're in medieval times, and then we switch to future times, which isn't that far, 2112. And then the tone of the book shifts entirely to sort of a young person.
And Florence Pugh shows up.
Right. And I liked that part. I liked the part where the two people are living in the world that we're in, and they were talking to each other, and I was like, this is actually pretty good. Although, in terms of sort of telling the story, the art there's a little boring. Like the panels don't change. The conversation was interesting.
Well, because he's drawing this actress, and so it's not super dynamic because he's clearly photo referencing.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with photo referencing, but he's clearly photo referencing her from various films, and so it's not incredibly dynamic. That part was the best part, in which this English nerdy goth girl in America, in California, has a football player boyfriend, and they're very different, but they like each other clearly, and that part was fun. It's just that the prologue, as you said, was sort of like super ponderous, overwrought, pretentious, hard sci-fi, and then I felt like the entire rest of the issue after the title page was someone telling me about things, but they never showed me any of it. And I don't even know what the story of this book is. I don't know why I would read the next issue.
I got the idea, like, there's magic, and there's science, and we found other worlds, and to live on those other worlds, some people get modified, which is called carking, and then there's these Marvel cosmic beings, you know, and then we go back to the past, and there's mermen, and then there's a Merlin. It was everything.
Yeah.
Everything thrown into a blender, which is what his art is. I mean, it is. If ever there was a book that seems like it would sort of represent how this dude draws, and drawing is not even inclusive of what it is he's doing. It's this. It's everything all at once. And I think if you can focus it, I think it is wonderful. But if you can't, it's ambiguous.
There was nothing compelling to get me to read the next issue or want to know what happens next. Because I don't even know what I'm supposed to be following because there's so many different timelines. And
I think you have to like what this feels like.
Yeah, and I like sci-fi. I've always liked sci-fi, and I've read a lot of hard sci-fi, but I don't tend to like hard sci-fi as much as I like other kinds of sci-fi. And this was rough.
But you can do hard sci-fi without making it utterly so much work to know what's going on. This is like Dune or The Foundation or something like that. But they didn't give me anything that I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next because I don't know what just happened.
Right. Yeah, this is rough. Starhenge Book 1, The Dragon and the Boar, number 1, ratings out of 5.
Let me. Do you think this was bad?
I don't think it was successful.
That's a good way to look at it. Like, I want to know, is this one of those things, like sometimes with horror books, I think this, like, are there people, like, this is their thing and they really are into it? Like, you know, whatever, some sort of subgenre of metal music or something like that, where they're seeing what's going on here and we're not.
I mean, maybe. I'm not, like you said, there were scenes and sequences in here that were good. And I get what you said. Like, the plot summary you said makes sense to me. Like, all those things happened and were said, but they weren't, to me, cohesive. It didn't to me drive the story forward to the point where I'm like, I want to find out what happens next. Like, The Closet, which was a previous Patron Pick, wasn't my thing and my genre, but it told a compelling story with characters that were interesting that made me want to read the next issue. This, I don't even know I don't know where this is going because it's a lot of removed third-person narration about things that happened. And again, they didn't actually show those things happening. It just was things that happened.
Oh, that might have been happening on the page. It's hard to tell.
Right. Maybe.
Ratings.
It was rough.
Ratings.
2 out of 5.
Same.
Sticking with it.
No.
Unfortunate.
No.
Unfortunate. Patreon.com/iFanboy. That's where you can go to add a book to the rundown. Every patron gets a vote. One patron, one vote. But if you're a patron at the $5 or higher level, you get a superpower live on the show. We like to give them out. It's fun. We've given out over 1,000 of them over these many years, which is a lot. Which is why you get things like Jim Herne, whose power is caramel.
The melted sugar concoction.
Yes.
In Twix.
Or any delicious candy. Jim can create and stuff anything with caramel.
All right.
So whatever you want, he can fill it with caramel.
Can I tell you something? I don't really like caramel.
That's crazy. It's just sugar.
Yeah, I know, but it's got that, it's caramel. It's got a slightly different flavor to it. There's that burnt's not the word, but it's a different thing. Like I can deal with it, but like a thing that is primarily caramel, like a caramel sundae or caramel.
Yeah. No, I
don't like that.
I need to pair it with other flavors for sure. I'm not just going to eat caramel.
Like I'm not, for example, gonna always pick a Three Musketeers over a Milky Way. It depends on the day. But if it's like all caramel, or like those chocolate balls, is like it's a big thing of caramel in the middle and it's covered in chocolate. Like I don't like that. It's too much.
Oh, I do like
feel it's
that.
gonna pull my fillings out.
I'm gonna have Jim fill you with caramel.
I mean, there's not scientific evidence that hasn't already happened. I mean, like I wouldn't like if you cut into me and a bunch of caramel fell out. I wouldn't be like, what? I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
So, yeah, I get it.
I mean, the sugar's there. It just needs to be,
It may have congealed into caramel while you
This
were
is what
not
I'm
looking.
getting at.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I exercise, and that creates so much heat that
It burns into caramel.
Doctor,
Everyone's
I
like,
don't
why
know
does it
how to say
smell so
this.
good in this gym? It's like the caramel guy's back.
Doctor, I don't know how to explain this, but he's full of caramel.
We need to get him into surgery right now. We got a bunch of Sundays. We got to drain him full of caramel.
The instruments are all sticky. They can't, like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Nick Maynard removes impurities. He will take care of impurities and things. He can make clean water. He can clean out your small engines to work in your yard. He cleans the shower like a son of a bitch.
He's like a human filter.
Yeah. He pulls out impurities.
What about
He's a human
air?
filter. Yeah, there's impurities in air. He takes that stuff away too. But nothing you don't want to be removed.
And is there like a what's the area of effect here? Like, can Nick clean the air in a room, in a neighborhood?
I want to go ahead and think of it like a Marvel psychic. Like they can do a lot if they really concentrate on it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if Jean Grey wants to, she can psychicize the whole world.
Sure.
But it's
She'll
gonna
get a
she's
little
gonna
bit
have
of
to
blood
take a
coming out of her
nap.
nose, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how this works for Nick.
So if
Seems
Nick
it really
wanted
depends
to
on what he wants to
purify
fix.
all the air, he'd get a little nosebleed and a headache,
It could be like that could be too much.
and he might go evil from the
It's
exertion.
absolutely possible which is the question: can he impurify?
Ooh.
I don't know. We don't know that. That's 50 issues in. Some shit's gone wrong, and he's like, forget it. You can have it all back.
He and Jim team up for impure caramel.
It depends on what the impurity is, though.
Right. Coconut.
What if it's flecks of chocolate? That's good. What if it's flecks of white chocolate? That's terrible. And let's just be honest. White chocolate is terrible.
Why does it exist?
I don't know.
Here's something that's amazing, but we're going to make it taste terrible.
It's not even chocolate.
No.
It's done to look a certain way. Like, hey, look, it's not brown, it's white. Oh, but it tastes like shit. That's right.
Don't you love it?
doesn't have the right-
No.
It doesn't have the right texture. I don't care what it looks like.
When you were kids, did anyone ever hand you like a white chocolate bar? Like, here, here's white chocolate. And you'd be like, why did I just bite into that?
I mean, at the time, there was a lot worse candy than that.
Sure.
So I would have gone with it, okay? Compared to like Necco wafers or other terrible ones. But like now, if I was gonna eat chocolate, I would say nay to white chocolate. I wouldn't even bother. That is not worth the sugar that is gonna go into my body for this bland waste of chewing.
You got to fuel that internal body caramel somehow.
Nick Maynard can rid the world of white chocolate, which is in itself an impurity.
We're drawing the line. iFanboy is drawing the line on that.
I like that we have never talked about that, and we're immediately on the same page.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/iFanboy. That's where you can go to get your superpowers, whether they are chocolate or caramel based or not. I told you we're hungry. Like my stomach started growling during that segment.
Would you eat white chocolate right now, though?
No.
Right.
No. I think we're long, so I don't know if we want to do an email or not.
Let's save it.
We can skip it. We'll save it for next
Save it.
time. Contact at iFanboy.com is how you can write in. Sorry for the email person who didn't get their email. We're going to do it again. We're a little long. It's a lot going on today. There's just a lot happening. So we're gonna end the show. First, we're gonna talk about some other shows we've done this past month of July. We just released the Media Explode for this month, where we did the summer mailbag, in which me and Josh and Ron Richards, before the terrible accident with the freeze guns, answered your emails. Unlike this show, we actually had the time for it. A lot of fun. There was a pizza discussion. There was a Band of Brothers discussion. There was a Goodfellas discussion. All kinds of fun things. There was a Star Wars toy discussion. So that was super fun. You can look for that right behind the show in the feed. Then coming up at some point the next week or so will be a review of Thor: Love and Thunder. We haven't figured that out yet, but that's going to hopefully happen soonish. And then later on in the month, Josh will have a Talksplode because he just recorded it.
Yeah, we have a new episode coming out. Is it July? It'll be in July. I spoke with Rainbow Rowell, and she did that great run on Runaways. She's doing She-Hulk now and is a very well-known prose author.
Yes.
YA stuff, which she's much better known for than comics. At the beginning, I was like, I'm going to be honest. I don't know anything about the others. Like, I read the Wikipedia page, but other people who have talked to you about this better than this, we're here to talk about comics. She said, that's cool. She's a lovely, lovely person, and I enjoyed talking to her, as I do to all the people on the show. But yeah, she was great. So that will be coming along soon. I mean, we mostly talk about Runaways. She loved that Runaways book. And I mean loved in the sense like the way that it was created. And
she wrote it for a long
worked
time,
on
right?
Everything. Yeah, which is I mean, to me, like the thing is that those first couple of issues, I just went, this is not someone who's never written comics.
Right.
And it was.
That was her first comics writing?
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah. So you'll find out how that worked if you listen to the show.
So that'll be coming out in July also.
Yeah. You can find all the shows that we ever did, all of the other podcasts and Talksplodes and everything. And I do know that she did some research on me and listened to some shows before she agreed to talk to me, which is a good move.
Oh, good.
But I passed the test.
Which shows do you know?
She listened to when we first talked about Runaways, which means she had to look for it. And she was like, you did well because you said you liked it and the other guys didn't. I was like, yeah, that's about right. And I was like, and I stuck to it the whole way. It's funny because when I did Brad Meltzer on the show a while back, I don't remember. I think he reached out. I don't remember how it happened.
No, he reached out to Judd.
Right. But anyway, well, no, that's what I'm saying. I don't remember how I started talking to him. But he said at the end of the show, he goes, that was good. I reached out to some people. I reached out to Judd and Chris to make sure you weren't a douchebag. And you weren't. And I was like, thank you.
To be fair, I don't think I read that comic, the Runaways book.
You didn't.
Maybe it was somebody
You didn't
else
like the first issue or so. You and Ron were still on the show at that time.
I don't think I read it, though. I think maybe Ron did.
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was great.
I don't like when they listen.
I told her that too. I said, I hate when the people who make the comics listen to it. And like somebody like Tom King has said, I can't listen anymore.
Right.
Which is the correct response.
Yeah.
So we can all coexist together. That's how.
Spitefully murder us twice.
Exactly. We've been pretty nice. But, heroes in crisis.
Yeah.
We've been honest. Individually, we're over at Instagram. I'll come around. Instagram at CS Kilpatrick and Jay Flanagan, but you can find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by following at iFanboy on Twitter and at iFanboy Comics on Instagram. You can subscribe to our YouTube page at youtube.com/iFan. I'm going to start pronouncing it a little more Britishly to keep up to date with our old video show re-uploads. The full-length shows are all uploaded. We're down to two more weeks.
Sorry. I didn't update that. This coming week's our final week.
One more week of minis. This is it. So this past, you can be excited about whatever these last ones are. We really probably saved up, and you'll get like two things that are completely irrelevant. But this past week, you got new comics preview from October 1st, 2008.
It was all three of us together.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That makes it slightly less irrelevant. And what was either really fun or really disappointing after the great title of Ode to the Beyonder.
Oh, no, this is one of the ones I'm most proud of because it involved the entire organization. So Ode to the Beyonder, which I urge everyone to check out if you haven't seen before, was a column originally written by Jim Rachkowski. It was a mind-blowing 25 stanza poem about the Beyonder.
Holy cow.
You don't remember that?
I don't remember anything. When you just told me about what happened in the media spill we just did, I had no recollection of that at all.
He's a genius. And
Yes.
he wrote this crazy 25 some odd stanza poem about the Beyonder, having read Secret Wars 2, all the issues. And, as we were coming to close on the minis, our buddy Augie DeBleek Jr. sent in unprompted and unasked for a dramatic reading of that poem, just to us, just for fun.
That's amazing.
And so
it's kind of coming back to me.
I took that audio and I set it to images. And so it was a group effort. I'm really proud of it. Although rewatching, I was like, oh man, I would change that. I would fix that. I would do that different.
Sure.
Check it out if you haven't seen it on our YouTube page, Ode to the Beyonder. Also, just if you want to read it, just go to iFanboy.com and search Ode to the Beyonder, or just search in Google iFanboy Ode to the Beyonder. It's worth reading, just in word form. Pretty impressive. One of my favorite minis we ever did.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's my turn. Hey, if you like the show, consider leaving a review or a star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Wherever podcasts are sold, you can help the show you like. Not just our show, any show you enjoy, you can help that show out. If you can't support it, and lots of people can't for good reasons, if you can't support the shows you like and listen to, you can at least support them by leaving a star rating or a review. It helps the algorithm. I was in a work meeting the other day and started talking about feeding the algorithm, and I had a little chuckle in my head because that's our joke.
Yes.
It helps feed the algorithm, the all-knowing algorithm that we all bow down to, but yet fear and don't understand. It helps all the podcasts. So thanks to all who do that. Even better than that is tell your friends, your family. It's summertime, if you're in a water situation, you're rescued by a sexy lifeguard, tell them as they're carrying you to safety about iFanboy.
On the opposite token, if you are at the beach and you are carried away by a great white shark, which is increasingly likely.
Sure.
As you're being dragged down, I want you to think, what do I want my last words to be? And I'm not telling you to do this, but I'm saying to consider it in the moment, plugging us. This is iFanboy.
Somebody get a gun. Somebody get a gun and shoot it. And listen to iFanboy.
Yep.
So yeah, if it's a situation where, there's a killer on the loose, and it's 25 feet, and everyone's trying to blow it up while you're getting in your boat with your dynamite, have a conversation about podcasts.
I can respect. I feel like you're talking about a fictional situation from a movie that I love a lot.
Uh-huh.
But let's be honest that what's happening now are real shark attacks by record large sharks in places where we have been.
I know.
It's a real threat. It's a present danger. And it's better than walking around and reading the news.
And that's why I don't get in the water, Josh, because I don't need an ironic death. I don't need a death that makes people laugh.
We are setting ourselves up for that.
Yeah. No.
You know what? I think I would prefer that. I think I'm all right. Not embarrassing, but a level of irony I think would be pretty great.
Well, those guys are really obsessed with Jaws, and that one guy got killed by a great white shark. I don't need that.
I mean, that's fitting. I like that. I think that's poetic. But yeah, I realized actually the other day, I was like, I don't consider myself to have phobias or whatever, and I realized no, I hate the ocean. I don't like the ocean. I don't like being in the ocean. Mm-hmm. I've been to a couple of really beautiful places where I spent some time in the ocean in like Turks and Caicos and in Hawaii on my vacation, and it was amazing. But at one point I swam out and I realized I was I couldn't see beneath me, and I flipped out and I came back in, and I don't like the ocean, and it's all that fear of that the unknown thing underneath there, the shark, the whatever.
That's why so many great stories have come out of that, because
I know
it's a great.
But I realize I actually have I don't know about irrational because it seems perfectly rational. I am afraid of that thing, and
sharks are actually very good for the environment and it's important.
Oh, absolutely.
Should be conserved. I just want to make it clear before we get the emails and the tweets.
No, it's our fault. We're trespassing.
Yeah,
that's their area. They should have their area.
Right.
I guess I'm into shark segregation.
You keep them in their area. We stay in our area. Oh, boy. Well, that was fun. I'm Connor.
I am Josh Flanagan, and no one else.